just around the corner right now. Obviously, Kylian Mbappe finally official at Real Madrid, and they are big favourites coming into the new season to retain their title. What's the feeling been, Sam, in Barcelona? Is there a worry about Real Madrid dominating La Liga next season as well?
Yeah, there's a worry. I mean, we mentioned the players they've got earlier. There's obviously a concern, not just because of how sort of well Madrid have recruited and built that squad in recent years and how they've sort of managed to get some of the best young players in the world, but also how things have gone at Barcelona. There is some hope at Barcelona on the back of, the emergence of Lamine Yamal, and perhaps it's more hopeful than anything, but there is sort of talk about, how Real Madrid make all these players click. But I don't think there's anyone in Catalonia or Spain or Europe who isn't expecting Real Madrid to be massive favourites. Obviously, the good news for Barcelona and Atletico Madrid is in La Liga, they only have to play Real Madrid twice, and it's the other teams they play 36 games. So they can still sort of hang on to their coattails. But yeah, Real Madrid will start the season as massive favourites, and we have to see how Barcelona manage their finances and how they get on in the transfer window, and then how they shape up going into the season. But like I say, they play Madrid twice. There's no reason they can't at least be in the running for the title.
You're bringing players like Nico Williams and a Dani Olmo in, let's say, if that were to happen for Barcelona. Is it so far off from Real Madrid?
Given who Real Madrid have added this summer, yes. I still think, listen, you add Kylian Mbappe to the La Liga champions, European champions. I still think that's the gap is still that significant between Real Madrid and certainly anybody else in Spain. Listen, for as good acquisitions as they are at those prices, 58 and 60 respectively, I'm just not sure that it's enough to bridge a gap.
Apart from on the field, we shouldn't look at this Barcelona squad and think that everybody's going to be happy in the dressing room, because I don't know what you called it, Shaka, but in my era they were called the Sour Grapes Gang. And the Sour Grapes Gang was made up of players who weren't in the team, who weren't going to be let go, who had contractual problems, and they were bringing players in to play in their position. And when you get 3 or 4, they can upset the apple cart big time. And if Laporte starts spending lots of money and bringing in 2 players, let's say those 2 come in, that's going to cause a lot of friction. And it won't cause friction with the players individually. The players will not look at Dani Olmo or Williams and have any problem with them, but the whole demeanour, they'll be looking at the people up the stairs, there'll be a horrible atmosphere around the club. You don't need that. You just asked us about playing against Real Madrid on the field. If this all comes about, Hansi Flick's going to have his hands full with the Sour Grapes Gang.
The Sour Grapes Gang. We've
Correct.
had the Sour Grapes Gang. Jules was telling us about the hairdressers who were the subs for France during major tournaments as well. What are your thoughts on it all, Jules? The title race between these two specifically, Real Madrid and Barcelona, in this coming season?
I think we've said since we've known in February that Mbappe was finally going to Real Madrid that this was good news for La Liga, of course, and for us at ESPN showing La Liga matches, because you want the best players in your league. But it was also a bad thing because that made this Real Madrid team even stronger, so much stronger than anybody else, really. So you could see them just walking that league, and not just for next season, but for the next 3, 4, 5, maybe even more than that. Because of the edge of Vinicius and Valverde and Bellingham and Camavinga and Kylian and Rodrigo and Tchouaméni. It's just like, at some point the centre-backs, well, maybe not Militao, but Alaba and Rudiger will have to be replaced. Carvajal at right back, the same. But for the rest, it's an incredible team that they have already. So I fear a lot for the competitiveness of La Liga, not just next season, but for the seasons to come.
Jules, you've just listed off a lot of names there that are on the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or. One of our favourite topics here on ESPN FC. And yes, we will be talking about it all over again. We're taking a look at the odds here. You've got Vini Jr. at the top of the list, followed by Rodri, Jude Bellingham, Dani Carvajal in there, Stevie, which I know made you raise an eyebrow, Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe. So it's going to be interesting to know who you guys think should win the Ballon d'Or. Sam, who are you going for?
Oh, I'm full of recency bias, but I'm going for Rodri. I think Rodri deserves it based on just, how much Manchester City have missed him when he's not been there. Obviously, another Premier League title with Manchester City, and then how important he's been for Spain. I can see why Vinicius is a favourite. If you're going to give it to a Real Madrid player, I think it probably goes to Vinicius. He missed not a lot of the season. He obviously had some big moments when he came back in the second half of the season, but he was injured for a little bit early on. Bellingham faded away a little bit in the second half of the season. I know he still had the Classico winner in some moments, but yeah, I'm going for Rodri.
Rodri for Sam. What about you, Jules?
Yeah, I will go for Rodri as well. To be fair, for also what happened last season when he won, obviously, the treble with City and there was no international tournament, and he should have been far closer to winning it than what he was. And then this year with the Euros, with the Premier League, with City, at the end of an incredible season. Personally, okay, the Champions League, they lost in the quarterfinals to Real Madrid in a penalty shootout. So I'm not sure Vinicius, who then went on to win the Champions League, just on that competition deserves it more than Rodri. So for me, Rodri deserves it outstandingly for being one of the best players in his position in the world and one of the best players in the world, full stop.
Stevie?
I don't think Vinny's going to win it. I don't think Vini deserves to win it either. I think there's no question it's between Rodri and Bellingham. I can't argue with anything any of the two boys have said. Rodri's an incredible footballer, and every single thing they said is correct. But I tend to think that the game's about goals. You know, the reason we all play the game and the reason we all started as kids is because we wanted to score goals. I mean, that's the object of the game. That's the ultimate object of the game, is to score goals. And I think because of the goals that Bellingham scored, not just for Real Madrid, but I mean, England don't get anywhere close to the Euro finals without his goal, particularly against Slovakia. So, because of the goals side of it, that's why I'm going to take Bellingham over Rodri.
Why are you laughing?
Because here we have former Player of the Year and defender Steve Nicol. The game is all about goals. And while, yes, normally, and certainly kind of, given the run that we've had of the last, 15 or 16 years, it has been about goals. I'm thinking Rodri as well. Because I felt coming into this summer, the shortlist was Jude Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. And the question only was who would have a better summer for their national team. Brazil got knocked out pretty early on. Vini was suspended for one of those games. And while Jude Bellingham had this kind of signature moment for England against, who was it, Slovakia?
Slovakia.
And Denmark.
But he wasn't great. England wasn't great. Jude Bellingham wasn't great either. They get to the final, I accept. But it wasn't great. So I think it then shifts to between Jude and Rodri, and I'm leading Rodri. Can I throw a curveball in here?
Can't lose.
I'm just going to throw. What about Toni Kroos as a kind of sympathetic vote?
Oh, behave yourself.
We saw Ryan Giggs won the English Player of the Year in 2009, just as he's retiring, as a kind of send-off gift. I'm just throwing that out there.
Two wrongs don't
He's so grumpy, right? He's so grumpy, Steve.